my speech is Burt's Place. So, who here in this room likes Lou Malnati's pizza? You? Gino's East? Pan pizza? Well, tonight, I'm going to tell you possibly, seriously, about the greatest pan pizza place on the face of the earth.
Luigi.
But first, I have to give you a little history to kind of fill in the details. So let's go back to the 1980s when I was growing up in Morton Grove, suburb in Chicago. And my older brother had found out about this place. It was called Pequod's. Not the Pequod's on Lincoln Avenue you see now. The first Pequod's in Morton Grove, Illinois in the 80s. My older brother, like I said, he had gone with his high school friends, and he said he brought our whole family there. It was like, you guys got to check this out. So me and my brother, sister, parents drove the station wagon, and we went to Pequod's. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with pan pizza. This was really pan pizza. It was like this thick. And just to describe Pequod's, it was almost like a little log cabin house. You kind of go in there when the floors were uneven. And some of the things I remember about Pequod's, the menus were like on a chain, like a menu was like on a wooden board, and it was hooked to the table like a chain, kind of dirty because people would always pick it up. And all they had was pizza, salad, and you can get like big things of pitchers of beer. But one of the things I really remember about Pequod's is we would go there all the time. Maybe I was there half a dozen times over a few years in the 80s. There was always this kind of middle-aged man sitting in the corner. It was a small room, but he was sitting there on his break, and I guess he was a cook, and he had this long beard. And the guy looked like Charles Manson. Half the time I was like, is he going to get a knife and start charging and try to kill someone? I was like, who is this guy? But it turned out he was Burt. And Burt turned out to be, later on, one of maybe the most famous pan pizza guy, possibly in the whole world. So to move on with the story, this was in the 80s. And just like the rest of you, I went to college and grew up a little bit. The 90s came and went. In the 2000s, I kind of forgot about Pequod's, although maybe I went back there once. And then, I think about 5 years ago, I read an article in the Tribune about this man I'm telling you about, Burt Katz. There was an article in the Tribune in the Tempo section. This guy was famous now. Burt Katz, the best pan pizza maker in the world. And it kind of told his story and how he had really become a national celebrity, where he had bought and sold Pequod's. He had started a pan pizza restaurant before called Gulliver's in the 70s. And actually, this is, like I said, in the 2000s, he had opened his own place called Burt's Pizza. And there was a picture of the pizza with all these like thick pizza with these fresh vegetables on top, and it looked like a big mess, but it was like, wow. There was famous chefs from France had come to the restaurant and write articles about him. And one of my brothers, who lives in Miami now, he loves pan pizza. Every time he comes to Chicago, we take him to Lou Malnati's of this and that, and he had also heard about Burt's, and he wanted to go there. But the thing with Burt's is now he had become an old man. He was in his 70s. And maybe it was 2010, and he kept really weird hours. It was a small place. You had to call. Half the time he didn't pick up the phone, and you had to place your order for the pizza. And every time my brother would come to the city, he couldn't get into this Burt's place. It was like the Holy Grail. He couldn't find out. And me neither. I had never gone to Burt's place. And then, a few years later, I think in 2016, Burt passed away. And my brother was like, damn. Just like I never got to see Frank Sinatra, my brother, or me, we were never going to have this Burt's Pizza. But the story doesn't end there. Maybe a few months ago I was Googling, I don't know why I was telling a friend about Burt's place, and it turned out Burt died in 2016, but almost on his deathbed, maybe 6 months or a year before he died, he had a lot of people approaching him to take over the business because it's like the best pizza you've ever had. And finally he let a couple guys who had dropped notes in his mailbox, he decided to let them be partners. So for the last year or 6 months of his life, he trained these two guys on how to make this Burt's Pizza. And so anyway, the new Burt's, which is pretty much like the old Burt's, just opened a few months ago. And just the other day, yesterday as a matter of fact, I was going up to the suburbs and I thought, why don't I go to Burt's? It's probably open now. So I Googled it and it turns out they were finally open. So I called them up, I put my pizza order in, and I made an appointment for 6:30 at Burt's. Meanwhile, I texted my brother, I said, I have an appointment for Burt's at 6:30. He's in Miami and he texted me back, wow. Let me know how it is. Anyway, to make a long story short, I went to Burt's and this pizza was really incredible, just like Pequod's, just like Lou Malnati's or Gino Z's, but even better. It was great pizza. But of course, there's more to the story than pizza. In the restaurant, there's a bunch of articles about Burt Katz. When he was younger and he got married, he traveled the world. There were people talking about him, how he was one person that had met Burt Katz, that he was the deepest individual he had ever known. So obviously, he really tried to get to know what he was doing. And another man, I think, had told him, you know you're a success in life if you can learn to do one good thing really well. Now, some people might think, he was just a pizza maker, what's the big deal? And think about how many times do you have a great meal that you really remember, maybe you're at a family or friends or a girlfriend, where it really is a moment to cherish. So think about all these people and all these events that happened at Burt's restaurant over the years, and Pequod's too. So even though he was a pizza maker, he really made a difference, probably in thousands of people's lives. So in closing, friends, Burt's Pizza is now open. It's awesome pizza. And the thing about Burt's and Lou Malnati's and all these places, really the secret is in the crust. But other than that, some of you professionals or what have you, you're always trying to figure out what to do better, how you're going to take over the world, do your job better. But really, my advice is just concentrate on doing one good thing. Think about it. If we all in this room did one good thing, how much could we learn from each other? If Tia made the best cupcakes or John was the best mechanic, God knows what we could learn from each other. So in closing, Burt's Pizza, just one thing, and I hope to see you there soon. Thank you.